The history of the Roman emperors is a remarkable tale, a story of war and peace, splendor and ruin, rise and fall. At Augustus' side, during his moment of greatest triumph, was his formidable wife, Livia Drusilla. He'd met Livia when he was still a young man, fighting for his birthright. She was smart, well-connected, and very attractive. She was also married and pregnant with her second child. The young Caesar was smitten, and Caesar got what Caesar wanted. With their marriage, two great Roman families were linked, the Julii and the Claudii, or the Julians and the Claudians. Julio-Claudian. A new dynasty was born. Their extended family would give Rome its first 5 emperors. The match, though it never produced an heir, was well made. Livia was a model Roman matron who ran her modest household with dignity and grace. She also advised Augustus on matters of public import, rare for a woman of the time. She had real power at court, promoting her own protégés to important positions, including the relatives of 2 future emperors. Rumors of her crimes can be dismissed as hostile propaganda. When women in his family stepped out of line, Augustus didn't hesitate to banish them. Livia stayed by his side to the end. Though we know him by the title Augustus today, he preferred a different one, Princeps Civitatis, meaning first citizen. The Princeps was a man of tireless energy, blessed by talented followers. He got Rome back on track at a breathtaking pace. He reduced the number of legions so no commanders would rise against him, and made the Senate work again. Augustus was voted tribunician powers, giving him the ability to convene the Senate, introduce legislation, and veto any legislation he disagreed with. He was now legally what we'd recognize as a Roman emperor. He shared these awesome powers with the son of a humble plebeian, his schoolboy friend Marcus Agrippa. Together, they reformed the tax system, provincial administration, Rome's aqueducts, and laid the foundation for 2 centuries of imperial peace. Rome was finally recovering. The population was booming. Prosperity had returned to the Roman world. The arts flourished in this new age. Through his able culture minister, Maecenas, Augustus patronized many talented up-and-coming artists. These include some of the most revered Latin writers in all of history: Publius Virgilius Maro, Virgil, Publius Ovidius Naso, Ovid, and Quintus Horatius Flaccus, Horace. Their works laid the groundwork for all Western literature that came after. These poets walked a very thin line. Free to write about whatever they wished, but limited in how far they could criticize the new republic and its conservative values. When Ovidius became involved in scandal, Augustus had him exiled to the edge of the civilized world. Morality must be upheld in the new order, at least publicly. Augustus' family, while a model of morality in public, was, behind closed doors, a hotbed of sex, intrigue, and factionalism. He had only one biological child, Julia. Julia was her father's daughter, headstrong, self-confident, and constantly engaged in love affairs. By all accounts, she was a witty and kind woman, but given over to luxury. When she was encouraged to adopt her father's frugal way of life, she responded, "He forgets that he is Caesar, but I remember that I am Caesar's daughter." Augustus seemed fine with looking the other way, as long as she obeyed him. But when she became involved with the son of Marcus Antonius, there were whispers of treason, and her father put his foot down, banishing her to a small island off the Italian coast. In due time, her daughter, another Julia, would follow her into exile for the very same reason, getting involved with politically dangerous people. Despite pressure from the plebeians to release them, both would die in exile. In the aftermath of these humiliating scandals, said Augustus cried out, If only I had never married or died childless. The fear of death haunted Augustus for all his long life. A hypochondriac with a weak constitution, Princeps faced death from illness on several occasions. His death would have been catastrophic. Luckily for him, Augustus lived a long life. But if his republic was to survive beyond him, the Princeps needed to designate an heir. We can follow his plans by looking at his daughter Julia, first to who she married, and then to who she gave birth. Marcellus, the Princeps' nephew, came first, but when he died of disease, Julia was remarried to Agrippa. This stalwart ally of Augustus gave the emperor several grandchildren before also predeceasing him. Now, attention turned to Agrippa's sons, Lucius, Gaius, and Posthumus, but Lucius and Gaius both died prematurely, and Posthumus was unsuited to rule. As a last resort, Augustus turned to his stepson, Tiberius. The two had a complicated relationship. Though he greatly respected Tiberius for his achievements, Augustus found his stepson dull and uptight. After one particularly long meeting discussing the succession with his stepson, Augustus is supposed to have said, "Poor Rome, doomed to be ground by those slow-moving jaws." Tiberius felt no better toward Augustus. He deeply resented the political games the Princeps often played with his life. Tiberius had been forced to divorce his much-loved first wife, Vipsania, to marry Augustus' wayward daughter Julia. The match produced no surviving children and left Tiberius without a wife at all when Julia was exiled. If that wasn't bad enough, Augustus was adamant about having a blood relative succeed him, so he kept Tiberius in the background for years. Heartbroken, bitter, and depressed, Tiberius went into a sort of self-exile in Rhodes. For years, Princeps was happy to keep him there. Only the untimely deaths of Lucius and Gaius convinced Augustus to recall Tiberius and make him his heir. Tiberius was brought back into the fold and went on to serve Augustus well, if grudgingly, for the rest of the Princeps' long life. When the Princeps finally died in his bed at the ripe old age of 75, no one alive remembered the old republic. Few mourned it. One-man rule had sunk its roots deep into the Roman imagination. The Augustan Revolution had left its mark. Now all eyes turned to Augustus' successor, Tiberius, the most accomplished man of the age, an excellent general, and a man uniquely unsuited for the role of emperor. Thanks for watching. Let me know what historical and political topics or characters you want to see covered next.